Title: The Silent Watcher. On the outskirts of a quiet village, Emily moved into an old stone cottage, her loyal golden retriever, Max, by her side. The house was cheap, too cheap, but Emily chalked it up to her luck and the rural location. The first few days were peaceful. Max seemed particularly drawn to the forest bordering the backyard, spending hours sitting at the edge, ears perked and tail still, as if listening. One night, Emily woke to a low growl. Max was standing by the bedroom window, his fur bristling. "What's wrong, boy?" she whispered, peering out. The forest was a wall of darkness, the moonlight barely illuminating the treetops. Nothing stirred. Emily tried to calm Max, but his growling continued, guttural and deep. The next day, the unease lingered. On her morning walk, she noticed something odd. The forest was silent. No birds chirped, no rustling of small animals. Even the wind seemed afraid to enter. As the days passed, Max's behavior grew stranger. He refused to go into the forest but would bark furiously at it, hackles raised. At night, his growls became a constant, his gaze fixed on the same spot near the tree line. Emily began to feel it too, a sensation of being watched. One evening, she decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight and Max by her side, she stepped into the forest. The air was thick and cold, and every snap of a twig underfoot echoed unnaturally. Max halted suddenly, growling at a patch of shadow ahead. Emily shone the flashlight, revealing nothing but trees. Still, Max refused to move. "Hello?" Emily called, her voice shaky. Silence. Then, the faint sound of something breathing. Emily's flashlight flickered, the beam cutting in and out. When it steadied, she saw them, two glowing eyes reflecting the light. They were too high to belong to any animal she knew. The breathing grew louder, ragged and wet. Max barked, lunging forward, but Emily grabbed his collar, pulling him back. The eyes disappeared, and with them the sound. Heart pounding, she stumbled back to the house, locking the doors and windows. She barely slept, Max pacing and growling by her bed. The next morning, she found footprints outside her window. They were enormous, humanoid, but with clawed toes. Emily called the local sheriff, but he dismissed her concerns as wildlife. "Probably a bear," he said, though his tone betrayed his doubt. That night, the scratching began. Long, deliberate drags of claws against the walls of the house. Max barked furiously, throwing himself against the door. Emily clutched a kitchen knife, heart hammering as the scratching circled the house. Then it stopped. For a moment, silence reigned. Then came a voice, low and gravelly, from just outside the window. "Such a good dog," it said. Emily froze, her blood turning to ice. Max whimpered, retreating to her side. She didn't sleep that night. At dawn, she packed her things, deciding to leave the cursed cottage. As she loaded the car, she glanced back at the forest. The glowing eyes were there again, watching. Driving away, she promised herself she'd never return. But even as the cottage disappeared in the rearview mirror, the feeling of being watched never left. And Max, he never barked again.